Hello everybody. Today I want to talk about the working memory model of masking. Working memory is the ability to hold information in your mind while you're doing other things. Think about being in conversation and trying to remember what you wanted to say so that you can say it once the other person is done talking. In that moment, you're using working memory. For autistic people, it looks like having so much information at once, including, am I stimming? Am I doing enough eye contact? Am I asking enough questions about the other person, etc., etc. All of this really overloads and burdens the working memory. Now, it's very important to know that human beings and mammals in general have a very limited amount of consciousness. Consciousness is incredibly expensive and uses a lot of energy, and so the body and the brain attempt to reduce how much it needs to be used as much as possible. And we do this by automatizing our behaviors. That's what learning is. There's a form of learning where when you act and those behaviors give you the results you want, then you make those behaviors unconscious and you don't have to think about them anymore. And so you can already see that this is what the opposite of what masking is. Masking is retaining in your working memory the behaviors while you're acting, which is tiring and exhausting and is the opposite of what having learned behaviors is. That you can just unconsciously dispatch and perform and let them be discharged or disinhibited and just act. And those behaviors are just happening. That sort of nirvana flow state is the goal. It's the goal of your organism, which really wants to make as much of your behavior unconscious as it can. That might sound strange, but that's actually the goal of your body and mind, is to be able to act. And for humans, it's very often in social interaction because we're social creatures, but to be able to act socially without having to think about it. That's the goal. Now, autistic people are never able to get to that state because we're constantly getting the looks. We're constantly getting told that we're too intense or that we're strange. And this signals to our brain that our behaviors are not ready to be made unconscious. They're not ready to be set down in long-term memory, non-declarative memory, which basically means unconscious memory. And we need to use our working memory to think about our behaviors and make sure that they are adaptive, and change them for the future. Now, personally, in my experience, I've been able to experience this state of nirvana, of flow. So, with my first girlfriend, I would ask my mom to drop me off, and I would find a little park and meditate for 15 minutes before going to see her. I was 19 years old because I knew that, or my thought was, if I'm in a meditated state, then the natural behaviors that I will dispatch, that will naturally occur, will be acceptable behaviors. And this is a perfect example of understanding that we're not really in control and we're not really conscious of our natural behaviors when we're in social interaction. They naturally come up. And so the goal, one important goal, is to make sure the environments that we're in are accepting and supportive of us, and so that we can start to act and behave in ways that are unconscious, which is exactly what everybody else is able to do. I guarantee you that it feels amazing to be in social environments, to be with my family, to be with my friends, and to just naturally act. It was a long process to get here because I had so much internalized shame and guilt, and I thought for real that my internal motor of behaviors and thoughts and feelings was morally wrong and reprehensible. And I And so I thought if I just let myself go and acted from this basis of just freedom and flow and nirvana, unconsciousness, that's really what nirvana means, is this state of not having to be self-conscious of yourself when you're living, when you're behaving. I thought if I just was in that state, then what I would do would be wrong, would be like shameful, would be hurtful, would be dangerous. That's what I had internalized. And so to be able to act in a natural way without self consciousness, without using my working memory while I'm acting, is a huge, huge change. And it has impacted every area of my life. It's changed my sleep completely. I had no clue that sleep could be so refreshing. I didn't know because I was constantly overloading my working memory, becoming exhausted, feeling stress and anxiety, paying attention to see if I was getting rejected, all of this, which is not to say I'd still can't, obviously I still can feel all of this, but I just have so much less energy that goes into working memory and thinking about my behaviors, and it has freed up so much. I sleep like a baby, my digestive issues are basically gone, like I still eat in a very autistic way, but I don't have all these digestive issues anymore that I always had. And I'm getting to really know myself and learn about myself and love myself. So, to recap, what is the working memory theory of masking? Masking is basically using working memory when in social interaction to monitor how we behave. This is not ideal. The body and the mind have as goal to act unconsciously. Or it's not just a goal, it's we naturally act. We naturally don't think about what we do. This is how the brain is set up. This with behavior is way too complex and social interactions are way too fast, and there's just that's not how the brain is set up. So we're constantly acting, but masking is us trying to inhibit and control and monitor that natural dispatching of behaviors so that we can avoid negative outcomes from others and so that we can fulfill our needs. Creating and having a supportive and accepting environment and learning that our behaviors are okay and being able to understand them and see them and hold them as acceptable and lovable behaviors is an incredible way to reach that state of not using working memory as much and not masking, which basically means having unconsciousness of behaviors, just acting without thinking about it, and getting good results, getting like positive outcomes from other people, feeling accepted and held and loved. And that is just an amazing goal that I really feel we can really keep working towards. And I feel so many autistic people are going to feel so much health and well-being as they're able to start acting more out of their natural behaviors and rather than having to use working memory so much. So that's a great goal to work with towards. Now obviously this theory raises a lot of questions about, well, what if the environment is discriminating? And what if you act in a natural way but you still get negative results? You still get rejected, and so your brain cannot just let go and be like, oh, let's automatize these behaviors because they're not working, quote unquote. And this is where we really need to take into account social environments and society's support and how neurodiversity affirming an environment is, how safe it feels, how safe it is. And what all that work is happening is also helping individuals to be able to act in this more unconscious and thus less tiring and more natural way. Because our behaviors will always be different than other people. The natural behavior that we dispatch, that we generate unconsciously, the natural feelings and thoughts will be different. And This is where awareness and acceptance of autistic behaviors and thoughts and feelings is crucial, so that we don't feel that guilt and that shame for being ourselves and for acting in this unconscious way. Thanks for watching.